My name is Dan Arthur Busby. I go by Dan E. Busby, but anyway, I am from a lot of different places. Born in Montana, grew up partially in Utah, and Washington for many years, Idaho for many years, Hawaii for a little while, and back in Washington. In 2017, I wrote Time Machine Emergency. It's sci-fi time travel. And in 2019, I wrote Lost in Time, Trapped in a Prehistoric World, which is totally unrelated except for the time travel part. And right now I'm working on a sequel to Time Machine Emergency. So within the next year, I ought to get that one out. I tend to have a little time as I work. I'm a nurse and I work night shift, and I schedule it so I have some time segments. That's mainly the time that I do my work then. Yeah, I like the quietness of the night, and I hate the politics and the noise of the day. So night just seems to be it. And plus, if I worked days, my wife always kept me up till 2 a.m. and I would have to get up at like 6. So you can figure that one out. Time Machine Emergency is the name of the first book. And it is, I kept in the back of my mind that time travel may be a possibility in the future. So that inspired me to write something that could happen in reality. So I kind of put it in the year, what was that, 2024 or something like that, in that area, where a young genius student, college student, works for a professor who he's a genius himself, but he's wealthy, and he does experiments in his class. And anyway, and also geopolitical things are culminating into, they're coming to a head where there's going to be nuclear war, and it becomes more evident. And they have to, when the young college student sees what time travel is possible, he starts working feverishly to fix this. And together they both have to develop this before nuclear war hits. So, that's a good jumping board for into wherever you want to go, So that's the way it starts out. Well, I talk about the scientific things like they are reality. And to these people that I'm writing about, they are reality. And they have to deal with it. So I kind of put myself into their position. What would I do if I was in the same position? And I decide what they have to do to face what's going on. So, like I say, I try to keep it within the realm of possibility. I don't want to go so ridiculous that it's going to lose interest. So, anyway, and it seems to work. And as far as the high-tech part of it, I know there's a lot of high-tech things that go on, but these guys are geniuses, all right? And I'm not going to spend my time dealing with all their stuff, because I'm not a genius, all right? But they know what they're doing, and they develop this technology, and it works. And the audience doesn't want to hear about all that stuff either, so, right? And I've had reviewers knock me down for that, oh, it's too simplistic, you know. I'm not going to get into the scientific stuff, but people want to hear about the exciting things, and that's what we provide. So the geopolitical aspect of this facilitates the whole adventure because obviously it's an emergency, and that's part of the title of the book. And the other part of it is time machine. So they have to work together to avoid a total annihilation of the world. In fact, they didn't avoid it, but with the time machine, you have the ability to go back and try to fix it. So that's kind of the whole book, is trying to do that, and then trying to find a utopia at the end where they're comfortable living, and that's hard. Well, the title of my second book is Lost in Time, and there are so many TV, movies, and books called Lost in Time, but the subtitle is Trapped in a Prehistoric World. So that's what it's all about. Where another genius who is a young guy and this is in like 2040, I think. Time Machine he's actually part of part of the invention of that time machine. And the government took control right away. So he was still employed doing this, and he had the misfortune of having a co-worker die, and he was blamed for it. But the government at that time hated the idea of paying so much money for lifer criminals. So they decided they would send them all to the Cretaceous period, the bad ones, the ones that are going to be in there. And don't ask me where the morals went, but sometimes morals tend to go. And when you get things happening, people in government will take shortcuts, and they'll take things that don't fare well for the average person. And so this character, the main character, gets sent back to the Cretaceous period and has to deal with, this guy knows how to make a time machine, but in the primitive element back there, can he actually do it? That's the question. Remake it. So it's the whole thing is dealing with him, and he comes up with a couple buddies that were sent the same way by, they were prisoners sent back to this period of time. So all three of them join in as a team to create a time machine to get back. And in the meantime, they're running from all kinds of horrible beasts, and they're out to get them. They have to find a shelter, so that's kind of tough in two ways. Well, I look backward in time because that's where the adventure is. However, I look forward in time at the culmination of the book, and that's what you're really looking for. You're looking for, like I said before, a utopia, a nice place, a safe place to live, and a happy place. So anyway, yeah, people like to books. They like to read books about adventure. And you have to go where the adventure is. And like I say, I don't think it's within the realm of impossibility that these things could happen. I've always known that if I had the ability to go back in time myself and replay my life, I would definitely take it and try to make a few more correct turns. But on the other hand, time travel in itself is an amazing adventure. It just presents itself, and it's got so many opportunities for adventure that it's easy to work with as far as that goes. I first became interested in writing about 4 years ago in 2017 when my wife wrote a book herself, and that kind of opened my eyes and said, hey, why can't I do this too? And she's a very good writer, but she didn't advertise it and didn't do anything extra. She just wanted to write it before her mother died. So anyway, I would get home from work, and before I could fall asleep, I'd have to write for a while, and then I'd fall asleep, and that's another way I got it done. So I guess that's, before that, I've always been mostly interested in music. I went to college as a music major, and I learned, and I can compose and arrange music. But you know, I do that. I still play music, but I find that writing is different. It's more exciting in some ways, so I'd just as soon explore that. I mean, why limit yourself, you know? I think it's the relation with music in my background to writing is they both are a creative field. It requires creativity, requires imagination, and I think pretty much you either have it or you don't have it. I know that's the way it is with music, and I think to a degree it's the way it is with writing too. So I think there you have it. Actually, I omitted one thing about the age. When I was the age 11 or so in there, I started writing a book. And I was writing on that book until I was, 25 years old. Off and on, I'd go for years without writing. And it had like 400 pages, and I would even draw pictures and color them in with colored pencils. And just a couple of years ago, a cat peed on it, so the whole book was gone. And I said, okay, well, chalk it up to experience. So I started with a clean slate, and it worked out for me. So, you know, it was just an experiment, kind of like a training project anyway. I wasn't going to do anything with it, but. I think I already had it in me, what I wanted to say. It was just a matter of getting it out. And so it wasn't like I didn't know which direction I wanted to go, because I kind of did. But I didn't know that whether I had the ability to write in a way that would be interesting for other people to read. So, and I wrote these two books, and one of my coworkers bought the the kind that you can that costs $3. You can read it on your computer, and she thought it was great. And I said, man, somebody actually likes my writing. Maybe there's something to it. So. That kind of encouraged me, and I'd like to really find out if more people would be interested in that, because I'm sure interested in the topic, and I say to myself, it's an interesting subject of time travel, and And I think there's a lot of people that are interested. It's just a matter of reaching them. Now, my plans for the next book would be right now the sequel to Time Machine Emergency, and that's a continuation of that. It's just kind of picks up as if the first book didn't end. And and I think there are some very interesting things going through that. To see, with the historical events of the world, this little group of people changed those historical events so much. And sometimes you would think the outcome would be this, but it didn't turn out. It turned out to be this. So these people have to go through that, sometimes a lot of failure before they achieve success. And sometimes they have to go farther back in time to make the changes that actually gets the right outcome. So that's an interesting thing to approach, to find out how you are going to approach that. Yeah, the sequel, as the first book, we found out in the first book that you don't want to go back, you want to go back far enough in time where they don't have conventional weapons. They don't have guns, gunpowder, and all these things. That way, if you go back to Alexander the Great's time with a helicopter, a military helicopter that has cannons and machine guns and stuff, you're going to really affect a lot of people in an amazing way. They're probably going to think you're some kind of a god. So that's what they decided to do. And then in the second book, they tried to make some changes, like in World War II and so forth. Pre-World War II, I think it was post. And it's much harder in that way because they have a lot of the same type of weapons. And it's amazing how it comes down to weapons. You have to control people, and then you have to get their confidence. And that was the whole thing, not to rule over them just to get their confidence. But you don't even have a leverage unless you can exert some military control. So, and that's why it's more of a challenge in the second book. Time travel is the only thing I'm going to do, and I have started another book, and I got to a couple of chapters on that one, and I don't know if I'm going to continue it, but it still involves time travel. And, that one would focus on a young man losing his wife at an early age, and he's interested in time travel himself, and he becomes preoccupied with going back to save his wife, obviously. So I think that has a good possibility to be a good book, adventure. So I'll see later on, I might work on that the next time. I work as a registered nurse. I've done that since 1986, full-time without stopping. So, and my wife and I graduated together, and she was a nurse for a while until polio took over for her. But so I was the only support for my family. I've got 2 girls and a boy who are all gone now, except one boy. And so I also, that's basically, that's what I do, but what for a living, but what I do for fun is I play the piano, I write music, and play my trumpet. And so I've had musical groups throughout my adult life, so that's mostly what I do. No, I took 2 years of music when I was younger, and I was very young. I got disillusioned and I quit. And then a few years later, I got married, had 3 kids, and decided to go back to school. So my wife and I decided to go together with 3 kids, which is not the easiest thing to do, but we did it. Yeah, I had to go by the wayside because I had to focus only on that. Like I said before, I'm not a genius, so it took me several hours a night studying to get through there. My wife listened in class part of the time and got straight A's. I struggled studying like 5 hours a night to get through, but I did make it. So, no, because I'm transitioning into, we're trying to move, and I haven't touched a keyboard in like 6 months. And so I'm kind of missing an element of my life right now, but I'm looking forward to that, to getting back to it. And so I guess I just get by thinking of what I'm going to do in the future, and that's the way I always do. I think, well, maybe this will turn out, and maybe things will do good. You're doing the best you can to reach your goals. Well, if I could get my family to read it, then I'd be able to gauge that. My wife and son and I don't know, I have a daughter that's read it and has given me a lot of input on it, and that's been encouraging. So if somebody would give me some type of encouragement, my cousin Scott gave me the most encouragement. He read it and wrote a review on it, and a lot of feedback. He thought it was a page turner, basically, and he actually didn't have any negative criticism, which might have been more productive if there were some, but it's encouraging when you find somebody like that says such positive things, and you think to yourself, okay, maybe this should work out after all, or it could work out. Yeah, I've received reaction from just mostly the one coworker. You get a lot of reaction from people that you talk to that are interested or amazed because you're doing something like this, but they don't actually read the books or whatever. So I kind of distrust some of the companies that advertise for you, because I did a year's worth of expensive advertising and I never heard anything or got any returns, and there's something wrong there. But the one I'm with right now is pretty encouraging. I would like somebody that just read about my books to actually go farther than the ad or the cover of the book and find out whether they actually like it or not that way. Because I think that if there's enough people that like this type of entertainment, and I think there's enough to create a large volume of interest. And so that's what I'm trying to do, to find a way that people will actually get past the beginning, and then they'll see, hey, this could be a fascinating journey. Well, the successes along the way, being able to, I started out with a pretty primitive cover on both of these books. Now I got updated covers, and then I added some reviews, professional reviews to the covers, and that helps a lot. And every step that you go gets you a little bit farther. Just keeps you in there, and and it gives you hope. Hope is the big thing, and hope has to come with progress and work. You have to do some work and spend some money, unfortunately. Actually, yeah, I'd just like to add that I believe time travel is a hot topic. I mean, all you have to do is look at shows like Star Trek or whatever. They're always doing stuff with time travel. And that's just shows there's an interest out there. And I think we follow that interest and get past the tip of the iceberg, and I think there will be a big field for adventure. So it's pretty much my whole goal here.